Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, here with a brief introduction before today's very exciting episode. People, it's official. We're on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. The best way to get more of the show, right? Tons of exclusive, awesome content over there. The best way to help us support and grow the show. That's the key. But you can also help make the show what you want. See, we're kind of attacking you from all business angles. That's what we do. So yeah, we have a massive library, ever growing, of exclusive content over there. We got movies that our patrons vote on every month. You can have us select a double feature you'd like to hear about. We also have some miniseries right now and more coming up. We have a Tales from the Crypt miniseries going right now, which is really fun. So lots of good stuff over there. We work very hard to earn your time and support over there. So if you'd be so kind, that's patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. If you already support us, thank you. You know you mean the world to us. Free things you can do to help support the show. Follow us on all the socials. You're on retweet, shares, all that kind of stuff. We're on YouTube. You can subscribe to that channel, Film Alchemist. You can email the show, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com, about movies you'd like to hear us talk about, themes, ideas. We're very easy to get a hold of. Two other things, guys. If you have a movie-loving friend, send them an episode. We'll take it from there. We're going to Ponzi scheme our way out, right? We want to infect your friend list with our voices. But that's something you can do that helps us out a lot. Also, make sure you leave those 5-star ratings and reviews to help us defeat the algorithmic James Franco scientists that are oppressing us, that are bringing us into the world without supporting us. All right. Enough business. You've had enough business. This is the end. We're coming to the end of our Planet of the Apes damn dirty April marathon, so you've probably had just about enough of my shit. Hopefully you haven't had enough of the ape shit, because now we arrive at Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is the new reboot. This is the Andy Serkis era. This is a wonderful trilogy. As Jay will make the argument, our friend Jay Rollins, who you know is along for this whole ride, our wonderful friend and amazing comic book artist, at Jay Rollins Art on all the socials. He's done some wonderful work for me. You'll love him. But as Jay will make the case, this is the greatest trilogy of all time. I might have some umbrage with that. They also unfairly try to cast me as a Rise of the Planet of the Apes hater. Unbelievable. The way him and Dandino just gang up on me. They're like two little rats fighting over cheese, and I'm the cheese. And that's just fine. If that's what gets them off, that's fine. But you guys will hear me make a very well-argued, reasonable case. No, you don't want to hear all this. You'll hear this in the show. So, guys, again, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Anything you can do to help the show means the world to us. And anything you can do to help Jay Rollins, at Jay Rollins Art on all the socials. He's such a great guy, man. This has been a really fun journey, and we're coming to the end. So I hope you enjoy Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
I can't help thinking somewhere in the universe there has to be something better than man.
No!
We have seen the birth of the Planet of the Apes!
Let's go explain evolution to the monkeys.
You may not like what you find.
You blew it up! God damn you! God damn you all to hell! It's a madhouse! A madhouse! Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty...
April! I'm just kidding, it's me.
All right, so I'm going to start this off. I had an interesting experience watching this, because I don't think I've watched all of these in a row in a long fucking time, right? So Rise of the Planet of the Apes is our start of our new trilogy. A couple of things leaped out right away. I'll just kind of throw those out and let you guys go from there. One, I'm just always going to be an ape makeup guy. Like, I'm just always going to be practical makeup. I think it's just dramatically better and cooler. To me, maybe I'm spoiled because, it's like your first James Bond or your first Doctor Who. Those are usually your favorites. That is something I'll just never stop being. And it gets better in the other two movies. But it really kind of bothered me this time. Also, I was struck by how little this Planet of the Apes had to say. Right? This is a journey of the heart and not the mind for the first time in the Apes franchise. Mm-hmm. And I actually thought that was cool, right? It's a mechanically flawless in how it operates, right? The beats of the movie and drawing emotion out of you. But it's a movie that doesn't really have much to say, which is kind of well, not from Mocky Mark, but it's kind of a departure from the original Apes mandate, which is examining things in our world and reality through this, right? This is essentially a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
And so it just plays so differently than the other Planet of the Apes movies. I feel like War and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes are kind of back to where we were a little more. So those were kind of my big takeaways from this one, right? It's a very effective, emotionally devastating movie.
Yeah, it has a
But
lot
it's
to say.
It's kind of empty of head and just fucking like the Grinch's heart exploding.
Well, it has a lot to say about. It doesn't have a lot to say about society yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until the end. But then we're going towards the new movies. It has a lot to say though about your place in the world.
Yep.
If you're different, because it's the journey of, that's what this whole trilogy is, which is so amazing. It's the journey of one person. We'll call him a person. I don't know. It's
Sentient being. Yeah, he's got personhood
yeah,
qualities.
it's his journey, and this is what's amazing. This is why Andy Serkis is incredible, and this film series is incredible. And I'm going to say this right off the bat: the greatest trilogy of all time. There is no trilogy that is as good as this. Is this the best trilogy? Yeah.
All right.
Can you name another trilogy that has
edit that out
this?
later.
Can you name another trilogy that has this much of a through line, that has one character from birth to death,
Mm-hmm.
from his birth to him coming into himself as a man, to him becoming a leader and a father, to his eventual downfall? This whole series is Shakespeare. This is incredible.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide because we're
Off the
on a
dome.
tight line here. I don't have time to be fucking screaming
It's
about
very
trilogy
much no. I mean, but Jay's right. It is very much in the thread of Shakespearean melodrama. Like that's what this is.
I couldn't tell when they were throwing Julius Caesar about constantly the whole movie.
They said Julius Caesar once while his dad was muttering, and his name is
Dad's
Caesar.
quoting it. They're throwing around his fucking folded playbill.
Okay, stop. They weren't doing like Shakespeare in the Park here, all right? They just said it like literally twice.
Literally Shakespeare in a park.
Whole time.
Literally, they do Shakespeare.
Whole time versus like 3 times.
I'm not going to be cast as the guy who's shitting on
fucking
Rise of the
hyperbole
Planet of
over
the
here.
Apes. First off, we're going to stop that right now.
Fucking hyperbole over here with the Maki.
No, you fucking hyperbole over there. Those two square. No, we're going to stop that now. I'm pro Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I was
and
giving
Star
you
Wars
guys
is a
some
very good trilogy.
Like a good
It doesn't have
podcast
the through
host, I
line
was
this one
casting underhand softballs for you guys. Go.
I get what Jay's saying though. Like for me, this is I'll say I don't know about the best, but I also am not really thinking about all of the trilogies I've seen. But
If
like
you cut out Beneath, the
this
first
has-
3 Planet of the Apes movies are better than this, but that's neither here nor there.
also if you
If
cut
you
out
cut out
Beneath,
then you're just
if you cut out
talking
Beneath,
about
there's
the
only
first and the
2
third one,
movies.
right?
The first and the second and the third, yes.
But you said you cut out Beneath.
If you cut out Beneath, there's only 2 movies.
You just pretend Beneath's not there, and then you got...
And then
That's
you don't
not
have a
three-
trilogy.
You got
That's not 3
Escape,
movies. That's
and
not a trilogy.
That could perfectly be a trilogy
This is
on
math.
its own.
But that's
Do we have to have a
exactly why
conversation on
it's
this
not
pod
perfect.
about math?
That's exactly why it's not
talk about your
perfect.
apes.
Every other trilogy didn't know it was going to be a trilogy. Any other like really good
Griffey.
trilogy didn't know it was going to be a trilogy.
Are you having
like,
problems with numbers?
You
even
1 and 1 is
Star
2.
Wars- Even Star Wars
motherfucker.
has its problems.
If you
Because
take
the
number
original
3 away,
trilogy-
you get 2.
If you have
Where'd you go
five
to?
and you
Where'd you
take
go to
2
school,
out,
Southie?
that's
My
3.
God.
That is Caesar level math that I just did. That you guys apparently need some Genesis, and you're like, some
Okay,
AR
let me
Caesar.
defend this point a little bit more
All right.
broadly, because you were saying that this is about the heart, and it really is. That it is. This whole trilogy is about one person. Is about Caesar.
Right.
That's what, and it's grounded and it's small. Even the big things that happen around him in the next movies, it's all about. Even if you are the leader of an entire society, it shows him with his son. It shows him with his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's okay. So when we were talking Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, I'm just gonna say this like sort of the same stuff about his upbringing and then his eventual rise to leadership. It's basically he lived the first part of his life with him and his dude, and he thought that's what life was.
Right.
And then
you bite off one fucking finger and then it all goes down.
Well, he just thought he was a guy, just like his friend. And when he saw his other friend getting hurt,
getting fucked around with,
he feels like he's a person. He's a person who went out and defended his friend. And the second that he did that, the people around him didn't see a guy who got in a fight because his friend was hurt. They saw a wild animal. And that was the first time he really understood how different
the moment where he's holding John Lithgow, looking at the tear on everyone else's face. Amazing. That's what this movie does, right? It hits those big heartstring moments. Like, you are so locked in on the emotional journey of this movie, right? Because they do two things really well in this movie, right? Besides the obvious, Andy Serkis ape performance, which is fantastic. What they do is they always are so locked in on the emotions first. And also, you can tell they've clearly done their research and they're big fans of the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of these things are kind of eloquently explained, right? Like, how did the viral outbreak happen? Not just that it was time travelers that killed cats and dogs.
Yeah.
That he made this aerosol viral to attack Alzheimer's in his father, right? So they give you these really good groundings to set the stage for the kind of Planet of the Apes that we were introduced to first. And I think they really are just hitting on a lot of levels that work. Because I think if you really crack down to it, it's somewhat hollow in the middle, right?
I think
it's more of a Pixar kind of joint than a Planet of the Apes joint, but it works so perfectly, if that makes sense.
What this series does, but what Rise does particularly, is it opens it up to being. I've said this since we watched the first fucking movie. I am so uninterested in the human stories in Planet of the Apes.
Oh, this movie would be way better if it started with John Lithgow in the finger biting. Like, if you just cut out that other first, 40 minutes.
The preamble, I get it. Like, this particular one is the one that you have to, kind of give a pass to. But
yes, I agree.
The other thing that this movie does better than any of the previous series, and the thing that Dawn and War do better than this one, is almost exclusively focus on, like you were saying, the emotions and the meaning behind all of the interactions with apes. My fucking heart breaks.
Yeah.
Every time I watch that scene where he's in the sanctuary and he paints the fucking window. That is
dude. There's
Jesus
10
Christ,
moments in
man.
this film that really make me cry.
Unbelievable.
Because I'm really invested in what this is doing.
Right.
And I feel not because of the baggage of loving the first franchise. In its own way, they grow these emotional attachments.
What Rise does is, and this is the thing, we were talking about this when we talked about Battle. What Rise does better than really any Planet of the Apes movie. And obviously Caesar's only in the last two, but it firmly plants the series in Caesar's point of view. We are watching these three movies are from Caesar's point of view, and we have to watch them. And it's not this haphazard thing about, we're versus the humans. It's this thing about this one is a little bit, because again, it's the first one of this new series. So you have to kind of do this Hollywood trope. And there's a lot of little cool blockbuster moments. I don't give a shit. I'll go see any movie like that. But once we start getting past it, it becomes strictly about Caesar trying to maintain that balance, like we were talking about in Battle.
Right.
So I think that's what Rise does better than anything, is establish Caesar's point of view in a way that is familiar and yet completely unconventional and new for us.
I don't think until Conquest do we ever, maybe Escapes, that's a good, but we never really feel tremendously emotionally invested in the other movies.
Sure.
Right? And this one, and that's the thing. I think the vestigial tale, right, of this movie is the start where he's like, I'm an old-timer researcher. I'm going to save my dad, me. And we see the, jungle hunting. And you're like, none of this feels like it's working for me. Until the scene when John Lithgow's holding the fork, and you can tell his disease is coming back. And there's this great shot of Caesar as he's kind of shitty teenage Caesar. He sees that in John Lithgow. And it's really powerful moments. You can see that he realizes his humanhood or his awareness could go to.
Right.
So there's a fear of Caesar realizing that he's different and he has something, and that it could be taken away, by the system or by the disease, and he's fucking that look that Andy Serkis gives.
That's interesting because
that's where the movie kind of jumps for me, where I'm like, now we're getting into it.
I've always felt that moment actually rings differently, which is Caesar realizes the fragility of man, not the fragility of himself, but the fragility of everyone around him.
This movie is him declaring that he is a man.
I think it's the fragility of family. That's what this movie
good
is
too.
about.
Yeah, that's
He's
a good one.
trying. All he has is James Franco and John Lithgow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
John Lithgow is slowly disappearing, and he was just straight up taken away, and he won't have. He's creating this whole movie. Like the trailers for this movie was just like, watch these apes fuck up the city,
the Golden Gate Bridge,
which was nice. It made us want to see it, but the truth is, they're just trying as hard as they can to not be blocked from going to the Redwoods. They do not want to hurt anybody.
Yeah,
they're just trying to start their own family, their own tribe in the woods, and that's what he's trying to do. He wants a family that's like him, because as soon as everything's all settled and he bribes the guy and he comes in to pick up Caesar, we're really going home now. And he sees that leash. He says, that's not the life I want.
Yep.
I've outgrown that. I could have more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
The image of avoiding a leash by closing your own cell door is a powerful one.
It's pretty intense.
And that's how wonderfully simple this whole series is. The big weird stuff happens around it, but really, he's doing what everybody does. This is the day that you're just like,
the movie essentially becomes about
the smartest
freedom.
guy in the world. My mom doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
This is his adolescence going into adulthood, and then the next movie is parenthood and responsibility. Oh man, it's just so simple with all this giant crazy shit happening. Right?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting because I do think, here's the thing. I also agree with Griffey. This one has like the least strong CGI work of all three of them.
It was 2011. Give them a break.
But it's also 2011. So like,
they invented
not that it's bad. It's just felt,
it's not bad.
Like when you see them like battling and jumping around, it just felt.
It's not bad to me. Like it just is what it is. It's 2011
in a weird way.
You're prohibited by the technology of your time.
My Planet of the Apes exists in the dirt. That's the difference, I guess.
I just think the close-up shots of Caesar's face are so good.
Oh, absolutely. The one where he's like running the prison, right? Where Malfoy walks in and he's just kind of like side-eyeing him. I was like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Poor Malfoy, by the way. He's still like stuck in like the child actor thing, and they gave him all the lines from the old movies that make us roll our eyes. It's so not fair.
Do you think that's?
I love.
Do you
the
think that's
homages
because he had to be the bad guy again? They're like, dude, I'm sorry, but you just have that face. You're gonna.
I mean, I don't feel too bad. His hairline's going. He's still getting a big check. Like, we'll have sympathy for Malfoy someday.
His American accent is so silly.
It's not
just let him be a shitty British guy who's like, this isn't the land of opportunity. I spray apes for a living.
I've seen the guy who plays his dad do British accents in movies. Let's just make him British.
Oh, Jason Isaac, yeah. For sure. That's where I would say, right? Like, I don't love the CG apes, but it does two things that are spectacular, which is one, it allows us to have different sizes and shapes and abilities for apes, which is awesome. It's something the series always needed. They should have done that earlier in the franchise. Love that. Right? But also, Andy Serkis, even through the cartoon of the... Well, that's true. You're right.
Michael Clark Duncan, yeah.
Even through the cartoon of the apes in this movie, Andy Serkis, Koba, right? Like, whoever played Koba, those performances come through perfectly in a way that a lot of animated characters don't.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the assignment of the actor.
Rocket is great.
That's the assignment of the actor. Like, I think this is
Maurice.
This is the really fascinating thing about motion capture.
Is Maurice the lawgiver? I really hope he is.
Maurice seems more like the dude, right? Where he's just kind of like getting high, like, dude, this is wild. Like,
but yeah,
chill.
but that's who Buddha was, right? That's
Yeah.
what I think that their new lawgiver is going to be. It's just like hand signal. We do peace for all.
Can you bring it
Humanity
down a notch?
together.
Also, he's like, I didn't have to juice to get my brain, dude. So maybe respect me a little.
It's
If
You
I
love
had a
that.
beef, that is one thing that I didn't love is that he can just throw smart bombs around and the apes
Yeah.
are all of a sudden like, now they're like, got it, we're in. That was not my favorite addition to the movie.
I can't believe you, because I love that the scene when they all wake up into sentience.
yeah.
I bet the scene when Brian Cox is watching them do the 1, 2, 3 together, and that turn by Caesar, you're just like, holy shit. But there was something fun about Conquest where Caesar's like, I gotta just teach these motherfuckers right now. Like, I gotta really muscle this into existence rather than just rolling two things down like he's Two-Face. You know what I mean?
No, I love it. That was him finally taking agency over his own life. That was the moment. That
Other
was the
people's
switch.
lives.
From everything before that was other people deciding what happens for him.
And that's
And
him
then
doing
he
that
said-
to all of his 8 brethren.
And you know what happened? He said no.
Yeah, and they probably did
He
too,
had
but they
said
couldn't
the thing
verbalize
that
it,
was
so
said
now
to
they're getting
him
fucking
over and
sprayed
over
with
again.
bullets. Just say.
But,
Just say.
But
That could have been done more eloquently.
That waking up into sentience and looking around and sort of like you don't know what they're thinking. Like they're seeing the world. They don't know what's going on.
It's probably
That
fucking
look-
terrifying for them. That's what's cool about that moment.
But they're so fascinated. They are terrified until that, like, Rocket walks out and he gives that little look to Caesar, like, that you? And Caesar gives them a little nudge on the cheek, like, don't worry, bud.
He gives him that, like, get in your place, bitch.
Oh, no.
Caesar got the iron.
That's that cynicism.
Dude, he
Come
fucking
on,
hit
man.
him with a gas can from behind. He fucking snuck his ass. And then he's like, this is my gorilla friend who's going to fuck you up, too. That dude is not like, hey, buddy, Caesar. That's like prison rule shit.
I do think that
This isn't-
like, he is a little
Griffey's
bit
watching
the Joker.
Oz.
Like this was him saying, I refuse to be a freak. I refuse to be the only one like this.
I will be the fucking man in this prison.
Well, not even in the world. There's no place for him. He's not a human.
Yeah.
He's not an ape. When he's amongst the apes, he just doesn't know how to interact with these idiots. But he really wants to. He wants to play in the same way.
Right.
He has the same fears and the same
Rocket
emotions.
ripping
and he
off
has-
his sweater, right? That's the shot.
Oh, that is almost the same shot as the gorilla taking Charlton Heston's clothes when he's standing there. That's so cool. But he refuses to be the only one like this. He refuses to be born, be a freak, and die, and then there's nobody like him ever again. And so this was like that was a madman thing to do. It really was. But from his perspective, there's a way to make these. Okay, so these apes also have the same problems that I do, but they don't have the same tools to fight that I do. Right. So let's give them the tools.
That is the difference. Is when he escapes into the night, he could have just gone. One ape can get through the night to that forest.
Yeah,
he wanted to bring that fighting condition to fruition.
He wants family.
Yeah, he wants to give them what he has. Even though it's been a source of pain for him, he's now declaring his personhood. Right? And there's also a way to read it too. This is kind of the beginning of possible like warlord Caesar, where it's like maybe he just knew like if there were more of them, right? Apes together strong, as they say. Mm-hmm. Maybe if there's 50 chimps to shoot at, he might have a better chance. You know, I mean, so there are all these decisions he's making. Because, like, when he kills Malfoy, right? He does not mean to kill Malfoy. It seems like that was a legitimate, I don't have an understanding of electrical current, and I killed this guy. There's a moment where you see him grapple with that is wonderful.
But he did, you're right, because he did want to hurt him.
He wanted to hurt him the way
he wanted to embarrass him the way that he was embarrassed. And so, like, that little bit of avarice is what killed him. He didn't need to be that angry.
Yes, he saw how that can become
it's the sin of
more violent that fast. Like when you kick it off, that's what happens. And so there is this, Caesar is making these big fucking choices before he understands the context in the greater world, right? Outside of that fucking attic.
But okay, you said Apes Together strong. I'm glad
Apes
you brought that
Together
up
strong.
because you said it. You mentioned earlier that you don't think that this has social commentary in it. I disagree.
Well, the
Apes
prison
Together
sequence
strong
is
is
the
very
best
important.
section of the movie, right?
This is the third act is about how the only way to fight oppression is by coming together, which is what Conquest is about.
Right.
It's just on a smaller scale. It's not as wacky as Conquest. The initial premise isn't as wacky.
This is like a Hobby Lobby painting of Conquest, right?
This is
like it's got the look. You would hang it in your family room. Doesn't have the soul of Conquest.
I don't know about that. I don't know. No, Conquest doesn't have the soul of Rise of the Planet of the Apes because this is about heart and this is about...
They don't have heart. They have burning furnaces of justice, dude. This is just like,
Wow.
I love the prison stuff, but like the third act, like ape battle on the bridge just totally doesn't...
Are you kidding me?
Except for when Caesar pops up on the horse. That's gangster as fuck, and I love it.
No, that part
part's amazing.
So because we've followed Caesar so closely,
right?
I don't think we would be on the side of the apes in general if we didn't love Caesar so much. We're on their side. We're especially on Koba's side.
Yes. Now see, that's the thing.
We're on
Koba
Caesar's side
should have had a bigger role, which he does later. But
he does,
and it is very important that they're not trying to destroy human society. Human society didn't do this to them because it's not Conquest.
Right. Well,
this
he also
facility and this one kid did this to them. So, like, all they want to do is get to the Redwoods because
but
of
that's
what
not
they
true,
are.
Though. That's not true, though.
Why
would they not escape as soon as the fucking dinner shift goes home? Run through the fucking night. Don't be going to the zoo and grabbing spears and running through noon traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge. Don't run on the bridge. Everyone go under the bridge. It was important to Caesar.
They were getting
this
shot
thing
at.
Fucking kicked off.
They wanted.
Caesar walks through the town willy-nilly, goes to his house and fucking stands like Freddy Krueger at James Franco and Latika's bed. Right?
Uh-huh.
They should have gone at night. He stands in the middle of that prison because he wants this to fucking kick off. He wants it to be a fight. He has fought hard to have this moment, and he doesn't want to slink off to the woods. He wants a fucking fight. Do I think he understands the context of what the fight is going to become? No. He wants to have a fucking fight, though.
I don't know.
He wants
no,
people
I
to
don't know
see
if he
him
wants,
running to the Redwood.
I don't know if he knew what it would turn into. I don't know if he understood what kind of retaliation would happen. I see what you're saying. I don't think he wanted a fight. I think he wanted a display. I think he wanted to say,
no, I agree with that 100%.
We're Simeon, get used to it. I think he wanted to march in the streets and tell the people we're here, and these woods are ours.
Right. I agree with that completely, but that's why I think it's important to put that in context is, while this is Caesar entering what becomes like adulthood, right? This is kind of angry teenage Caesar. He's at that phase where he just doesn't have enough experience with other apes, other people, the world at large. He's making these childish declarations, right? We understand the want for freedom and to escape prison, right? And a lot of that, too, if you watch the series, you understand that intrinsically. But the decisions he's making are coming from a younger, angry, childish kind of point of view. He's
but that's
saying,
where
let's
revolutions
fucking run
come
at
from.
noon, and doesn't think about the fact, oh, man, my gorilla friend's going to get fucking wasted.
Thomas Jefferson was 20 years old. These are the kinds of people who have revolution.
I think, but you can say Caesar is not at that stage. Thomas Jefferson had 20 years of living in, like, pilgrim times, which is like 60 years of our time.
Pilgrim times
Caesar was
were like
living in a fucking pack and play from
beforehand.
IKEA until 6 months before this kicks off. He's upstairs playing in a fucking slide that my child owns. Right? He's not out in the streets.
Wants family. He just wants to live in the redwoods.
I understand he wants family.
And the battle on the bridge is for us. Because it's
I know
badass.
It's for us, but we don't need it. We don't want that.
Cool.
Throw that away.
It's a gorilla jumping on a helicopter, and the moment that the dude who's like the head of
Jacobs. Oh, when Koba gets him, that we needed.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is fucking great.
Across the board, except James Franco, the acting in this movie is impeccable.
How did Franco? Did we ever ask that question?
What?
How did we let Franco for so long?
I know, right?
He was really good in some stuff, like 127 Hours. He was great in, but
he's having such a hard. He always seems like he's just has a hard time saying words.
He doesn't understand what human beings are. That's the problem.
It's a clear sociopathic problem. Like he's and his personal life is only clued us into the fact that he has no idea.
As we know, he was struggling with some other things, but
but
that's what I mean, right?
When Koba is,
dude, when Koba, we first meet him and he already has his hand out for the cookie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes into the lab machine and they're like, oh, he's not scared. And they're like, he's seen a lot of time inside a lab. I was like, yes, this is what I want to deal with, right? This guy who's like, he's been in the system of oppression. So he's like, he knows how to navigate it like a shark, right? Like he writes Jacob's name because he knows that motherfucker is going to get all excited and like help me out, right? So those moments of that kind of stuff with Koba, I thought, began to outshine some of the stuff we were doing with Caesar and
which is wonderful. We're so on his side that when he becomes the antagonist in the next movie, I agree.
Koba in the next movie I just think the next one is so much better because it fixes a lot of the things this one didn't do.
Amazing because like it is because I really do think that this is such a solid movie for what it. I mean, it's a remake. It's a reboot. It's a remake of the fourth movie in a
but what
series. It really stands as its own entity. It has homages and flavor, but it really is a unique entry.
What it really is a reestablishment of the overall thematic arches you find in the Planet of the Apes movies, but recontextualizing it for America post 9/11 and the world post 2000. Like that's really what this is you recontextualize everything about Planet of the Apes for a modern society, because it's not like we obviously still have pretty much all the same problems we had in 68 to 73. Right. And there's like literally nothing that's changed, but other than technology at this point. But the reason the movie is like fucking Golden Gate Bridge, please. That's fucking rad. Like who didn't want that? Like that's cool as hell. This goes to Griffey's thing about how anything that's unnecessary.
We have a YouTube audience of fives of people that can also see. No, my kids agree with you, but they're children. They said as soon as they saw the fight, they're like, "This is the best Planet of the Apes movie." And I was like, "Get the fuck out of the room!" I sent them out of the room.
So, what this is for the small-minded with the curly hair is
how fucking dare you?
What this is an allegory for raising class consciousness amongst people who just let the world happen, and it happens, and it's because it was right after the 99% movement, right after the housing crisis. Apes together strong. If we all come together, then we can no longer be oppressed. Class consciousness, learning
by cinema. That's what I love.
Learning what the class system is, which is
the plague that Martin Scorsese foretold us about. This is the plague Martin Scorsese told us about. That someday you apes would walk into a theater with your mouth hanging open.
Stop your stupid words from coming out of your mouth. Don't start it. Don't start this.
No, I'm just fucking around. The bridge is stupid, but it's what this does, though, right? This is an interesting point to make. This is the first of a new trilogy, right? Is Planet of the Apes, the shock value of that is us going to a society where we're not in charge,
right?
And to that audience, to make the kind of race, metaphor of, could you imagine if someone didn't respect you and your personhood, right? Well, then we got into the apes becoming kind of the abused in our human society of the time. So I think the fact that they're going back to that, right? It is different than how we started the franchise, right? Because at first we still need a human to empathize with. Now they can do that with Caesar, right? So it is a fun. Golden Gate Bridge aside, I do love this movie. I'm not. You guys are casting me unfairly in your witch trials as a hater of this movie,
but. What happens is
asking questions.
This isn't. Old Griff Beck over there is just poking the bear. That's his business. No, but really,
whatever, Tucker Dandino, just get on with it. Let's go.
This is how this always devolves. But like, this is the important thing about Planet of the Apes as a series and as just like a document of cinema is that it always reflects what's going on in the real world. Like, those stories, no matter what, always reflect the real world and the problems that are actually happening. Because Jay's right. This happened after the housing crash. Why wouldn't you want to go to the redwoods and be free? That's the whole thing.
I get what you're saying. I think that's a fucking stretch, right? This is about a person who's tired of everyone's shit.
This
It's
is
not
class
really
struggle
saying
in
very
general.
much.
Yeah,
This is
it's class
about
warfare.
class struggle.
I don't think it's about class struggle because this would be the equivalent
can't
of the
it be
millionaire on your street.
How is it
His
not
son
about
goes,
class
I am
struggle?
oppressed. He lived on this fucking giant house in this rich ass neighborhood.
But why can't it be about class struggles? Like, that's the question you need to
I'm
ask
saying
yourself.
you're bringing that
Well,
from
wait,
the
okay,
previous.
so-
You're bringing that from the previous movies. What this is?
No.
This
He
is
started
a
with a
Frankenstein narrative, right? James Franco's responsibility
that's
to
the
what he
first act of the
created,
movie.
right? And Frankenstein getting personhood and being like, "What the fuck, dude? I know stuff too, and no one respects me." And then I'm gonna run to the Arctic. You're bringing all the other class struggles from the previous films, is what I'm saying.
No. Okay,
You are.
no. This is somebody who was born in privilege, didn't know that there was oppression amongst his
Right.
people until he didn't know that he
He's
had
like
no
a millionaire
rights. And
white teenager who runs over someone
Exactly.
drunk, and he's like, "Wait, I can get in trouble? This is crazy."
No, it's like he didn't know he had no rights
Fucking
until they were
gaslighter.
all taken away from him.
Don't call me
He had
gaslight.
no idea he had no rights. He had no idea he was an animal. He had no rights, but he didn't know that because he lived in a place
Again,
of privilege. He lived in his little
not
bubble.
about his
and
lack
then when
of
everything
rights.
was taken away from him, that's when
Yeah.
he saw that he was an animal and that animals are treated this way.
Right. When he criminally
and if
assaulted
his
another
people-
person because James Franco's a piece of shit owner.
His owner. That's what he found out. This is not my
Right.
friend. This is my owner.
Right. James Franco brought something into the world. Because this is why the movie struggles a little more than the others, is this split
It
narrative.
doesn't struggle. I don't know.
It's James
Does it struggle?
Franco who's willing to burn the world down to save his father, right?
This is not
Relatable, but
about
doesn't really
James
matter.
Franco. It's about Caesar.
I understand, but what I'm saying is Caesar doesn't have the gravitas we see in the other movies. He gets it in a big fucking way in the next movie. Big time.
Okay,
This is
you don't think that
a-
the day he says no
I love when he says
is
no. They're
powerful?
piggybacking off stuff we already know about Planet of the Apes.
I'm talking about this movie.
Right. It's
You
great
don't-
when he says no. I think you're ascribing this 9/11 1%er class struggle shit that just doesn't exist. It's a
It's just-
Frankenstein story. The way that movie's
I'm
not
afraid
about
to
whatever.
say you're simply wrong, and there's nothing
How
new about it.
dare you? That's it. I guess we're not
I'm-
going to
I'm
cover
sorry,
the rest
that's
of the
just-
I mean,
There's
I'm just
no
excited
way.
I don't have to be the only one to say it this time.
I
So this
If
is
am-
great.
I quit
I am
podcasting every time
impressed
someone
with-
said I was wrong,
with-
we would never have had a show.
I am impressed with how hard-headed you are about this. It's
Welcome to the pod.
this is simply true that's what
I
this
feel like
movie's
Bob
about.
Haskins and Roger Rabbit when he just goes fucking tunes. That's what I feel like right now. I'm presenting you the clear evidence on the ground. You are casting me
No,
as a man
what-
who hates this movie. I'm just saying it is a more childlike entry into the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Wow.
And then it gets super dark in Planet of the Apes again in the next one. This is a
Childlike.
Disney-fied entry point for normals who don't want to fucking think too hard or have their noses rubbed in it.
Well, that's where the action parts come in. I see what you're saying.
That's
Like,
what I'm
that-
saying.
that I
This
totally
is not
agree
a
with.
deep, want you to feel bad about life Planet of the Apes movie as others. This is a, hey, your mom can go watch me like, that was crazy.
No,
That
it makes
was
you,
wild.
It makes you feel
But that's-
triumphant about it.
But isn't
No,
that...
I agree because, again, they prioritize the emotion, which I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah, but
they
isn't
very
that
well succeed.
always what every Planet of the Apes movie does? It gets your
No,
ass...
literally no.
Untrue. It gets your ass in the seats because you get to see cool shit. And then if you actually stay for 5 minutes, you start thinking. It's like the whole point of the Planet of the Apes story in general.
This is a man who had no idea he was a slave until all of his rights were taken away from him. And as soon as he saw that,
Okay,
he took
again,
his
you're
brethren
bringing that
and
from
he rose
Conquest.
them up.
He was not a
To
slave.
class consciousness.
He
He
dressed
taught them
like
what the
Chucky and
world
lived in
was.
an attic full
How
of
are you not
children's
seeing
toys.
this?
He lived in an attic full of children's toys and leather-bound editions, dressed like
Yes.
fucking Chucky. He was not a slave.
infantilized. He was the house slave who was treated the best of them
How
all, and he had
fucking
no
that
idea.
is a stretch. That is
No,
a
it's
stretch.
not. It's just what's happening.
He
It's
was
on
not a
screen.
slave.
It's right there for you.
He was the Doctor's creation.
Yes, that's the first act. Watch the rest of the movie.
I watched the rest of the movie. He's not a slave. He goes to jail for assaulting a person because his dad is bad. I get that. He could have escaped, and then he wanted to start a war because he's like, I'm used to being a rich teenager. I understand.
And they say you're lucky that they didn't kill that animal. He has no autonomy. He has no rights. If you, as a person, bit somebody,
this is
you wouldn't
different,
be
though.
Caged up and have your clothes taken off.
Right. This is different, though, when Taylor's on the Planet of the Apes because he has personhood. He understands. Caesar didn't have any of that. We are watching the first anomaly. The other movies are about established societies colliding and the fish out of waterness of that. We are watching the birth of something new that does not exist in this world that is carving its own place out. That's Frankenstein. This is not a deep social narrative, right? This is a guy who he should not exist in the world as
hang on.
is.
Why can't it be a deep social narrative?
I don't know why it couldn't have been. I'm telling you, it's not. It's just not.
That's your opinion.
It's a big heartstring movie.
This is the subjection of movies.
You didn't see it. That's
you're just not seeing it. That's what's going on.
It's just there.
You're choosing not to because
this is not the same as Taylor. This is not the same as Zira.
You're choosing not to see it. You're choosing not to see it because it enforces the wrong narrative for you.
I understand.
This is the personal narrative of somebody.
This is literally the definition of you not understanding.
This is the personal narrative of somebody who doesn't fit into society.
Right.
It's the personal narrative of a person who doesn't fit into society.
It's one person who says, I want to do my own shit. One person. Right? This is not a clash of societies. He is not a slave.
No,
He is
it's not a
meant
clash
to be a
of
slave.
societies. It's not a clash of societies.
I'm saying it doesn't have the same narrative beats as the other. He is an anomaly to this world.
It's got its own narrative
to exist. Just like the disease is fighting the ALZ-12 in the body, the antibodies of our system are trying to stop him from existing. Right? It's right there. Every subtext in this movie is written in big fucking crayon. Right? They want you to know exactly what they're saying.
This movie so much?
I'm saying this is a Saves the Cat Planet of the Apes.
And in April of 2023, the end of Film Alchemist came.
saying-
It happened during a podcast about the
Film
planet
Alchemist
of
blew
the
up.
apes.
I'm
And
just
they
saying,
went
I don't-
underground.
I don't know why you guys are so mad that I'm saying that this is a heart movie, not a brain movie.
I don't
Because it's not.
I think
Because
it is a
it's
heart
absolutely not. It's a
The
heart
fact
movie.
that
That's
you
what I'm
think
saying.
that a movie about the heart can't
What's
be
wrong with a little
intellectual?
column A, little column B? Does it have to be
Right,
one or the
but
other?
I'm saying this is not being there. This is a cartoon movie about I'm sad and I want to go to the woods.
But what
And
I'm
that's
saying,
fine.
why can't
It's
it
a
be a little bit of
cartoon
both?
No, this is.
It is a little
I
bit
love-
of both.
But you just said it has to be a heart movie, not a brain.
I'm saying that's the
There's-
movie they presented. Not that it
He
couldn't. Like
thinks
the
there's
next,
no intellectual value
the
in
next
an emotional
movie.
story.
When we
because
talk
he's dead
about Dawn of
inside.
the Planet of the Apes, that
If we
is
get
both.
there.
That is who gets to do both, right? That is for the head and for the heart. This is for the heart.
Got it.
This is Rudy, right? This is Rudy. This is what that movie is. Like, look at what he did. Good job. Way to get out there.
Well, that's Griff's Film Alchemist podcast with these random guests we've had here.
I didn't expect you guys to assault me and just say this is
I
some
think
kind
it's
of deep
interesting that
thesis
it's.
on
I think it's.
anything.
I think it's very interesting that
Right.
there's no dichotomy in the story. It's either a heart movie or a head movie. Like
I'm telling you,
it
that's
can be
what they
very much
presented
both.
to us, right?
But I
That's
think
what
if
they
you're not going to
presented.
dig any deeper, which is literally what we do here, like I
I've
think
been
that there's.
digging deeper with you.
I think there's some pieces that you're missing, Griff. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think you broke it apart enough to see the magic.
Oh, no!
That's all I'm saying.
I
I'm
saw
saying-
the magic.
What
The
I'm
magic
saying
Andy
is,
Serkis'
you clearly
eyes.
went to
That's the magic.
Southie. You clearly don't know what you're talking
How
about. That's
fucking
the
dare
problem.
You? How dare you? I don't want them apples.
That's
How
the
dare
fucking
you?
problem here. You didn't go to Southie Ape City, so you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know your problem.
I'm saying
You don't know the
what-
socks.
what
That's
I
the problem
think is
here.
The most what I think is the most stunning thing about this new Ape franchise is that they somewhat got out from underneath the studioization of this movie. Right? Not that that's bad. This is a highly
No,
polished,
this is a
effective
studio movie
machine.
for sure, off the top.
And the next
Yeah,
one, they
yeah.
found that real kind of in between, right? That's a real fucking dark, grown-up movie.
I think that we
And I'm not
all
saying
know,
that this one is not. This is a great
No, but I
movie.
also think that we all know why it was that way, which was two
You got to get
factors.
people reinterested in
Andy
apes.
Serkis.
Yeah, and I think
totally.
we are all on the same
That's what it
page.
is.
Like,
Andy Serkis and Matt Reeves take agency over the entirety.
as
of
far as
series.
the second
Absolutely.
movie goes, like the second movie was an impossible feat. How did they do?
How did they get
This
that
one-
movie
this
from
one,
this?
too,
It's unbelievable.
it's pretty. Again, it's awesome.
Let's
No,
just
I
say,
agree. I agree.
like all that other shit aside, we already said it. It's out there in the ether. This movie,
I have a
shouldn't-
groundswell of apes behind me.
Griffey
Yeah,
lives in.
so
Griffey's
this
not from
movie-
South Ape City. It is what it is. What are you
This
going to
movie
do?
100% should not have been as good as it was. There's no way it should have been this good. Whatever all the others, like whatever, it is a heart movie. That's what makes it what it is. It as the first in the franchise, it makes us love Ceasar.
Yes.
Which means we
Totally
will
agree.
follow him to the ends of the earth.
Totally agree.
Which is why War is so good, because he makes some bad decisions. But we met him when he was a baby. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. No, but I think that's what this movie did really well, right? Is again, all the other movies are like, we're going to examine some deep shit, right? This is just, here is a brand new thing that should not exist in the world, right? And then they delve in a little bit to, because Franco's got to save his dad and his body's rejecting the thing, that now he makes it more viral. Mm-hmm. We see the pilot taking it everywhere. We see Franklin dead. It's a really good baseline with which to build apes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they got to that,
that's
Dawn
what it
of the
is.
Planet of the Apes is an absolute unicorn that should not exist, and it's fucking stunning. And this movie just made the bet. They're like, we need to get normal people that don't want to be depressed about all the things Planet of the Apes always talks about into the theater so that we can hammer them with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
That is an interesting perspective.
I think it's
hard
deceptively so.
But okay, so I would like
not Griffey's opinion, the movie itself.
Sure.
Alex,
I think it's a mechanical trick
about
that works
there's
really
going to be a fourth one, a Disney one.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out next year. Yeah.
Who could imagine a Disney-fied Planet of the Apes? Unbelievable.
I didn't. I choose not to hear it.
You know, Marvel has real stakes. It's not just told to us so we can pretend we're watching something deep.
You're continuing a fight you had with somebody else 2 years ago. I don't know.
I'm just enjoying this. This is nice. This is a high energy apes, the highest energy apes we've had yet.
I can't believe this is the one that's making this happen. By the way, this is crazy.
And I will not be cast as the hater of this movie. But go ahead.
I was thinking, so like, we don't actually. There's a moment in it when James Franco tells his boss that his father is actually smarter than he used to be. I don't know if we saw that happen, but I think that's a nice little Easter egg. I hope that the second kingdom is beneath the kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, with the people who who survived the virus, who also didn't lose intelligence but got higher intelligence.
If they get to telekinetic mutants, if this movie leads us to telekinetic mutants, I'll eat a fucking shoe. I'll eat a fucking shoe on air. Are we
all just banking on them sequelizing every single one of the original Planet of the Apes? Like they all get their own series.
I fucking hope so.
Goddamn,
what is so great, though, again to reiterate, is that they were not overwhelmingly beholden to what it came before.
They did a really
Planet
good job
of
doing
a great fucking franchise, but those movies were not enormous.
No.
Right? As far as their reach into pop culture beyond the ape makeup. Right? So they were, to Jay's point when we first started this, you said this was like your franchise. It was your little thing. Mm-hmm. There were not a shitload of kids on the school bus talking about Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Right? And so they bring the good parts, but they make their own decisions and it becomes its own addition, right? It's one of the infinite timelines that we talked about for the past couple movies. Yeah. And so I really appreciate what this new franchise became, but I don't think it's disputable, but this is not the highest of the three movies that we
I feel like we already did dispute. But moving along, the first time I saw this, I didn't see this in theaters. When the trailer came out, the trailer was just was gorillas on the bridge. You know, it was
so that didn't make you want to jump out of your couch and go see it? Oh, okay.
No, that was that was the normcore part of the movie, and that was the part that they gave us. They didn't tell us that this movie was going to be about heart, that this was going to be about one man's journey.
Yeah. You know what? You can just finish my
And
closing
so,
argument.
like,
That's good.
It's fine. Griffey's just rewriting his whole thing. It's fine.
Me and my roommates, like my roommate, there was a dude up the street who would sell burned DVDs
Yeah.
for like $2.
Love those guys.
And oh man, God, you know what? God damn it, 2011 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
dude.
Anyway, so they popped it in. I loved all the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes was like we talked about. The reason that we're doing this is because just like it's my little franchise.
That's right.
And I was so blown away that they made a good movie because I was done after Marky Mark, and that was 10 years before that. I was like,
I was
12.
in high school when that shit came out. I remember that hitting and being like, "Oh no."
But I had already I was like 12, 13. And I had already at that point watched all the Planet of the Apes movies, and I already knew this is stupid. And I was just done. I was like, there's only 5 Planet of the Apes, and there's really only like 3.
There's really only like 3, yeah.
And if we're really being honest, there's 1.
Yeah. Wow. No,
just because of what a marvel of cinema the first one is. It really is the only one that they gave the good budget to of those original movies. It's not fair that it's the only one that gets to be as beautiful as it is in the way that it is, the big scope of it. But that's actually, oh man, that's what.
The fourth entry is just as good. That's what's cool. But that's
what
they
makes
made
Conquest.
the choice, right? They didn't want to get lost in this weird, deep sci-fi stuff. They wanted you to fall in love with the character and make you keep watching. So they didn't want you up here debating all these societal ills. They wanted you to stay attached to this small creature, this anomaly in the world. Yeah. And they wanted you to just wrap your arms around him and want him to be safe. And they took that, they did this mechanical trick for the first one.
And they took away his safety.
One of the best Planet of the Apes movies you could ever imagine.
And so, as a revolutionary, he carved out a niche for himself. And he's
not a revolutionary.
He had fallen down to the level of the proletariat. He gave the proletariat the knowledge that he had so that they could rise up against the system that oppressed them. And find their own.
You sound
way.
like the rich teenager that discovers Rage Against the Machine, and they're like, "Me too." It's like, man, all right.
Yeah,
that's what Ceasar is.
Yeah,
that's what Ceasar is.
Caesar's
like, I saw The Matrix, and I want to wear leather and fucking listen to Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, the world is fine. It's been fine. Why we gotta fight?
I can't wait to talk about
Those other apes didn't ask to get gassed. He just needed henchmen. Because he was so rich, he wasn't used to not having a servant around.
I guess I just have the empathy to see what it might be
Ceasar
like
is another
to be
Brian
an
Cox. Is that what you're
person.
telling me?
But I mean, we're all
Hey,
white dudes here. Some of us just can't.
You can
see
oppress me in a house that's full of Shakespeare and pianos. That's fine. I've seen a lot of oppression in my life. That I've never had a piano or Shakespeare's everywhere.
What a pod.
This is not how I thought it would go. This was exciting.
The Shakespeare part, this movie is not Shakespeare. The 3 of them together are Shakespeare, and the second movie is definitively Shakespeare.
Right.
Actually, the third movie, because, death.
This is like when my son writes an I love you daddy note and gives it to me.
Yes, everybody's a child.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
People who disagree with you are children.
I'm just saying, when I'm standing atop a redwood with all these thousands of people crawling up behind me, I'm not going to say I told you so.
You know what's weird is I did love the big no really was my heart drops in that moment.
Yeah.
But at the end, I'm talking the first time I ever saw it.
No.
First time I ever saw it. The very end, the Ceasar is home. I actually got creeped out by that. I didn't like it.
Yeah. A rich white teenager taking his
Stop
domain.
it.
Forget it. Talk about the thing I just
like
said.
that line. No. I love this movie. I think Andy Serkis is an absolute goddamn treasure and should be protected at all costs.
Agreed.
And this is a great platform with which to then go in another direction.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great movie. All right, Jay, tell the people where to find your stuff.
At J Rollins Art on Instagram and Twitter. Just go to Twitter, Instagram.
Jay doesn't draw in crayons, that's for sure.
Yeah,
not.
I doodle good pictures.
Full depth of character in Jay's drawings. No doubt about it.
I've really enjoyed watching this. I've had a really good time.
You guys really should look at the YouTube on this film Alchemist, because just watching Alex sit there with his arms crossed with a big smile on his face while me and Crippy are fighting
been a
was
blast.
really
Alex doing his best Maurice impression.
It's just wave after wave of what I've always wanted for this pod.
I mean, I often too wished I could just sit and bask in what I'm saying, but that's
Yeah.
my
what I
gift
was
to
doing.
you.
That's
Like the gas canister, that's what I give to you without you asking for it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Bye! We'll see you next time. Oh, next one's on Patreon. I should say that. Patreon.com/FilmAlchemistPod.
Again, if you want us to talk about how
the
awesome
other
Dawn
film
is,
I
you
would
better
have
fucking
in my
be
top
there.
3 Planet of the Apes movies. I think Dawn is a top 3.
Yes.
Next one, we'll do a knife fight, so you really want to pay for this one. Even if
Someone's coming out on a stretcher. No.
monkey knife fight!
That's fine. You're Gary Oldman. I'm probably Koba. That's fine.
No, you're Woody Harrelson.
Caesar?
I'm staying Maurice. This was fun.
Yeah, the idea is just going to Maurice his way through the final of this franchise.
Absolutely. Just
Bye!
Bay!